Well, it's been a while since we've seen our next guest, but we're very pleased to have International Leader of Consciousness in Action back with us today. We have the wonderful Sacha Stone. Sacha, hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Happy to be back in Southeast Asia after about 9 months absence. So yeah, all good. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
August last year we spoke to you, Sacha, which was an interesting time as well because it was around the 8.8 portal, or close to. And then we just had the big portal on the 22nd of February. So we will talk a little bit about that kind of thing as well. But before we sort of jump into those sort of topics, we wanted to start off by getting maybe just your key takeaways from your time overseas. It's been quite a long time, hasn't it? About 9 months that you were traveling. So we wanted to get you to maybe start there. But also, how is it being back in Bali? Are you happy to be home?
I'm very happy to be home. It's been about a week I've been here. So I had to do a few days of quarantine with full access to beaches and spas and things. So don't ask me why they even bothered, but it was okay. I managed to decompress and catch up on a lot of communications and correspondence. So I'm back up at my villa now and gearing up to do a couple of events on the island whilst I'm here. It's not a long trip, this one. It's pretty short. Then I have to be back in Europe and the Middle East, and then I've got to be back in Mexico. So looking forward to that because I've started the big project, big New Earth project in Mexico, which is really going to take up, I think, most of the next 2 or 3 years of my life. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Gosh. So you're moving to Mexico? Is that
well, I mean, I move wherever I am, but yeah, I've found what I believe to be a piece of paradise, a very large piece of paradise, actually. And I've got a magnificent team assembled over the last few months, and the necessary investments and all the rest of it. So yeah, we're cracking on and groundbreaking whilst the rest of the world goes into some kind of, Third World War, thermonuclear Armageddonist death spiral, whatever the hell's going on. It's so hard to divine. But whilst that propagandized bullshit's taking place on the checkerboard of life, I've really decided it is only about groundbreaking now, planting those oak trees and enactment, embodiment, and manifestation. So I'm fully immersed in what we're doing and paying less and less attention to the bad images and totems that are being spun for us on the screen of so-called reality.
Yeah, we couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, we've been feeling the same, Sacha. We've been sort of putting our heads into a project that we're doing, and it's sort of really about getting yourself into a creation phase and really concentrating hard on where you're putting your focus. So we feel exactly the same as you do. We will get into talking a bit more about it's the New Earth Horizon project. Is that right?
Well, I mean, New Earth Horizon is the name of the portal that's launching shortly. I say shortly. We were supposed to have launched it already a few weeks back, but I got swamped by, again, this project in Mexico and then leading a number of retreats in Mexico as well. So the New Earth Horizon portal really, I believe, launches next month. And that's the new unified platform for all things related to New Earth, but also all of the various initiatives and things that I've been working on for years, because I've been systemically deplatformed in the last 18 months, 2 years. So the New Earth Horizon is really my kind of carefully crafted fuck you to Silicon Valley to be able to give the media with the guerrilla network, the guerrilla news network that I've set up, and the Regenesis retreats online set up, the Humanitad Foundation back, all the kind of diplomatic stuff that we've done over 20 years, the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, and the new hearings that we're about to kick off this spring into summer. And things like the World Health Sovereignty Summit, the Reclaim Your Lives, the Line in the Sand. These are the big events that I did last year and the year before connected to this COVIDiocy. So all of those media assets and literally about 1,000 media drops that I've done in the last couple of years. Many, if not most, have been scrubbed and taken down, but we've got them. and we're putting a lot of it back up on our secure servers. So yeah, that's what New Earth Horizon is. It's basically another lifeline that it's New Earth 2.0. Basically, but this time we're taking it into a big, powerful manifestation with residential. So New Earth Sanctuary is a residential project, the one in Mexico, where many hundreds of people can come and plug and play and live in their own inward-looking zero-point economy in paradise, with a lot of breakthrough innovations and technologies taking place within that facility, because we're setting up a campus for the New Earth University. We're setting up a research and development laboratory for our scientists, mathematicians, to be able to develop out fully the technologies and the algorithms that they've variously been working on, but which have been and continue to be suppressed by mainstream academia and, of course, by the satanic status quo, which is governments and their fucking regulation agencies and compliance agencies, all that usual hoopla that is engineered into the mainframe to prevent any zero-point economy or social ecology from emerging. So we have to pay coin to Caesar, we have to buy his poisons, and we have to be grateful and take the knee at the same time. I don't think so. Not in the New Earth.
Yes. We love that you throw yourself into things and you don't let big tech stop you from doing that. And even Julie and myself have experienced, to put it nicely, some issues, just with the channel and just over this past, year and a half, I think we've been sort of doing this work online, and there are days that are tough, and you sometimes consider, how do I keep going? Should we keep going? Should we keep doing this? But we do, and you do. And that's what we love about you, Sacha, is that you take action. And that's what we've also been doing since we've spoken to you last, where we're working on a project right now where we're actually starting to look at creation, at the creation phase. It's really easy to stay in this destruction phase because everyone loves a good whinge and everyone loves complaining about things because it's easy to do. And to a degree, a lot of videos is just reiterating a lot of that rubbish that's going on out there and instilling that fear back into people. There is a lot of good information out there too, and things that we have needed to know, because otherwise, where would we be if we didn't know a lot of this stuff over this past couple of years? You may have known about it for a lot longer, Sacha, but it's been a pretty quick download for us, hasn't it? Even though we've been awake our whole lives, in a sense, there's a lot of information we weren't aware of.
Hey, Sacha, in terms of being based in Mexico, was that something that manifested, like the ideas around being over there whilst you were away after the Arise tour?
Well, I went to Mexico to decompress from the tour because, as you probably know by now, a number of people died on the tour. It was pretty grueling, but very necessary and very, very beautiful in its way. But I was hammered at the end of it, and I couldn't get back to my home in Bali. And so I went to Mexico to decompress, and having spent a few weeks there, hated Tulum. And I used to love Tulum, but Tulum has become a real kind of Babylonian light, pretty grisly affair. And so I went down to the Bacalar Laguna, which is a few hours down the coastline. And I'd heard about Bacalar from Carrie Kiristar, my dear friend, the journalist, and went to visit her and her husband, and fell in love the minute I arrived there. So I just decided, well, there's something very special going on here. And the energetic was feeling very different to the rest of the planetary miasm. And I then went to do a retreat in Isla Mujeres, the little island of Cancun. And after that, went to Romania to meet with the military scientists connected to the life pod technologies and other stuff we're working on. And I was technically on my way, and then to Lisbon and Portugal to see my family. And then I was technically on my way back to Bali. And I just thought, no, I'm going to go straight back to Mexico and finish what I want to start there. And I went back and closed the land deal. And I'm glad I did, and did a couple more retreats on Isla Mujeres, and then ended up feeling, great, this is it. This is really where I want to set up the major international focus. I'd always planned initially to do it in Bali, and we have a satellite in Bali, and it's a beautiful one. I'm here now. But taking the New Earth to where I need to take it, I cannot have the encroachment of neighbors. I cannot have encroachment and of concrete bunkers being built. And in the rice fields of Bali, alas, that's the encroachment that's taking place. It's white man's poison has kind of kicked in, and there's a lot of desecration of nature. And I'm not despairing of the island, just to say the model of new earth that I'm envisioning and that I am now insisting on manifesting is a very big and powerful statement to the world. So it cannot be, I cannot be using my life force trying to negotiate with 1,000 little issues that are encroaching on that vision. I need to be able to have a huge piece of land, which we've now secured in Mexico. I need it to be a place of exceptional physical beauty and clean environment, which it is, and a place which is readily accessible for the world at the same time, which it is. The Chetumal airport, near 15-20 minutes from the New Earth Laguna project, is now doing flights to Miami every week. So, although Cancun is 5-6 hours away, we've now got another a smaller airport that's beginning to bring in some bigger flights. So I just feel there's this kind of Wild West vibe emerging in that part of the world, in Mexico principally. And I wanted to catch the front end of that wave. And I certainly want to try to prospect and pioneer as much of the Laguna down there that we can, before it becomes the Mexican-French Riviera in 3 to 5 years' time, which it's absolutely going to be. So that's, my reason for going to Mexico was to decompress. I then fell in love with the place, what to say, and I've now decided to peg my life there for the next few years to manifest a very big project. This is not a small undertaking. This is a huge project, but since I ideated it and started to hold the clear, very clarified vision in my mind's eye, what can I say? Everything is moving. The energy is absolutely flowing. Everything I need presents itself. And I know enough in life to know that when that is happening, you just run with the wind, you run with it.
Yes, it's all about just being super clear on your intention. We talk about manifesting a lot, and being, these days manifesting feels a lot less, I think, goal orientated and more just being truly just in line with who you are, and allowing those things to match up with, your true self. And we've been finding a lot of instant manifesting as well. So we know you'll put such a beautiful energy into this, Sacha. It sounds very exciting. And every time we speak to you, we feel such a pure, beautiful energy from you. So we really enjoy our interaction, and we know that the project will be infused with that energy as well.
That's very kind. Thank you. And, the metric is very simple, because the metric is the ABC, art, beauty, and consciousness. And the elevation of art, beauty, and consciousness over the TikTok of time and money. We discussed this as a trio before, but it really does come down to that. And, we can either indenture ourselves to the satanic status quo and look at these screens on our iPhones and on the billboards and on the television screens and believe those images, and thereby with our attention empower them with life force to manifest, or not. It's one or the other. It's one or the other. Life is a checkerboard. It's been prepared as a Masonic checkerboard. It's apparently good versus evil, all of that dialectic bullshit. And if you want to buy into that and believe that it's a binary dualistic universe, then you are forever indentured to the checkerboard of life. And you will either be in the good or the evil spectrum. You'll either be happy and prancing amongst the daisies, reveling in the delights of the world and extolling the virtues of being a human, or you're going to be cowering in a basement, sort of seething with jealousy or anger over some bullshit or other. And that's the checkerboard of life that offers itself to all of us if we want to play on it. But when you become circumspect in life sufficiently to be able to say, I'm not going to continue to be played by this universal field, which is a very fucked up field in a sense. It's the one that is contained within the atmosphere of the earth, is a very compromised one. It's a confluence of billions and billions of years of mutant isotope frequencies coming off all sorts of arcane agendas and galactic intelligences and all of this weird cacophony that makes up the third density field of reality. One can become indentured to it and become the servant of it, energetically speaking, whereupon it parasites your life force off you until you die. And that, by the way, is what entropy is. When entropy kicks into the cells and starts to decay and corrode and to bring about disease and death, it is because we have unwittingly indentured ourselves or permitted ourselves to abdicate our immortal, immanent flame of divinity and to believe in the false light images of the third density realm. And that is what allows the parasite to parasite us, the archonic, demonic realms. And that's what pulls us into disease and death until we actualize, hit the master switch within and recognize that Atman, I am, and I will determine the outcome. I have the power, the capacitance to determine the outcomes in this world, albeit it requires inordinate will, power, and stamina. You guys spoke to it yourselves a few minutes ago, speaking about looking to each other from time to time and going, you know, what the fuck are we doing? Like, can we really keep this game up, you know? And I honor you and I salute you because it's all about stamina. At that point, it's all about fortitude and about stamina. That's one thing I am very, very masterful at, is learning how to take a punch in the face and to fall down with a death blow and to get up and to get up and to get up and to get up. And you learn the craft of dusting yourself down and disidentifying from the attacks and standing up and going, it's okay, I'm here, I'm alive, it's all right. Yeah, I've just been absolutely screwed by my directors, by my trusted partners and people that I thought I could, you know, I believed in.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm still standing. I'm still standing in the flame. It's all right, you know, and you come back and moreover, when you have the courage to stand up with that fortitude and that stamina and to say, it's okay, we're going to take another round, because that's what you purposed yourself for in this world. That's what you migrated your soul here for, to be at the tip of the spear of the transmutation of lower frequencies into higher frequencies, into higher outcomes. We are creators. We are divine creators. So we're here to create and to affirm and to expand. We tend to forget that. We forget it because we're constantly being mind-fucked by a satanic status quo that is constantly peppering images, bad images onto the screen of life, trying to trick us out of that lucidity. But from what I can see, the clarity that is emerging through the lens of life as we move through this darkened era of COVIDiocy is such an emergent light field to those of us who, in a sense, are meek and who carry that lightness in the heart and are not identifying too strongly with the images on the screen of life. Those of us who can look at the Ukraine without getting psycho-emotionally sucked into the vortex that is precisely what is being engineered for us. We're all supposed to now be experts on the, you know, on Ukraine and on the Donbass region and on NATO forces and on Russia's aggression. You know, it's such bullshit. There's one leader in the world who is actually standing firmly on the side of humankind. It's called Vladimir Putin. I get that most people are way too stupid to understand that. I get that most people in the world are too connected into the false light narrative being spun out. But the fact of the matter is, there is one world leader on the international stage who is not isolated, incidentally. The Sabbatean mainstream media are trying to make everyone believe that he is isolated. He is far from it. Probably the vast majority of nation states in the world endorse and support what Vladimir Putin is doing because they know he is taking down the NATO European Union stronghold and lily pad in the Ukraine, as well as, by best accounts, 11 Pentagon biolabs. Now, is that a good thing? Well, yes, of course it's a good thing. That's deep state assets. Is Donald Trump backing Putin? Yes, of course he is. Any intelligent world leader knows that if Putin fails, it's bad for everyone, because this means that the communist Nazification of the planet, the collectivism of the planet, will be fully underway. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here, just to say that, you know, we are living at a time and in a world of great treachery and great deception, where most of the narrative is flipped 180 degrees. And even good liberal intellectual people believe that good is evil and evil is good. Well, that's a damning thing to say, but it's true. We have to be very mindful of that. And we have to, more than this, learn the craft of disidentifying altogether, psycho-emotionally, from the status quo and the populist narrative. And then look inside and ask self, what do I envision for this world, for myself and for my babies? What do I envision? How do I want to paint on the canvas of life? And then begin to manifest that process unapologetically and absolutely. And one only needs to hold the vision absolutely, ideate it here. And then in that flame, as you wake up every day and reclaim your senses into that vision, away from the Luciferian images of the narrative that's out there, keep going back. That's your meditation right there, incidentally. That's your yoga right there. That mindfulness, full of your own creative potential and your ideas of how you wish to manifest heaven on earth, so to speak. And if you can do that, and if you can hold to it, you will prevail, you will sustain, and you will be the ones that manifest this. I don't know what your vision is that you guys are working on the project, but if it's half as beautiful as the two of you, mind, body, and soul, it's going to be a magnificent outcome. But you have to have the stamina and the fortitude to keep resurrecting that vision, and do not relinquish it.
Oh, look, Sacha, there's so many points we could talk to within that speech, and I probably couldn't remember half of them that I was going to say. But you know, you really are the master of stamina. You are the master of creation, and I think this is exactly the kind of conversation that people need to hear, because they do need to be reminded all the time of you know, switching out of that, you know, that narrative that we're constantly subjected to. And I know people say turn off the news, but it's not just sometimes as simple as that. It's about, you know, pushing towards living in a higher frequency. And this is where we really do want to gear the conversation today. We want to really touch a little bit more on manifestation and instant manifestation, which, you know, we're experiencing or have been experiencing some very highly energetic portals that are helping us to do that and to upgrade ourselves, to upgrade our consciousness. So we want to touch on that and pick your brain a little bit more of that, or, you know, on that as we go through the conversation. And as I said, look, so many points come into my mind when you speak. And I just really wanted to touch, before we go any further, just with all the countries that you did visit and all the people that you did see throughout your tour and your experience recently, in your summation, where do you feel we are at in terms of the collective awakening? Do you think, are you seeing people awake on a much higher level than perhaps, you know, a year ago in your own kind of summation? Do you feel that's happening?
Yeah, it's a compression event. So the awakened are becoming increasingly augmented and increasingly awakened, which is, of course, exactly what is meant to happen. This is the alchemization process. And I know to some people listening, and they're rolling their eyes going, oh, Christ, he keeps banging the same drum. And it's true. And you know what? I'm unashamed in that. And I will continue to beat the drum until what I'm saying becomes the collective plasma projection about who we are and why we are. We are here to affirm, create, and expand. We are not here to be the utility of the kingdom of the devil. But all too many of you, including you good conscious people listening to this broadcast, are indentured into the kingdom of the devil, and you bloody well know it. You just won't quite articulate that truth to yourself, because it's uncomfortable and because it challenges everything. But you must know that if you want joy in life, if you want to delight in this world, if you want joy, if you want bliss, ecstasy, euphoria, any of these as your foundation to your being, you must begin the process of weeding that garden. And weeding the garden is really about conscience and about falling increasingly into the determinations and the dictates of your conscience. You know, I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it another 1,000 times. Everything comes down in the 3D temporal world to coin or conscience, coin or conscience, coin or conscience. Apply that metric to yourself every day. Wake up and go to the newsagent or the grocery store or the bus station or to the office, or and observe yourself and observe how you are violating or permitting the violation of your own conscience systemically, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, in almost every exchange that you do with people. You are giving way, acquiescing, agreeing to an invisible contract. Of course, I'm speaking here about the plague of wearing masks and of rolling up sleeves and all of the paraphernalia of evil and inverted logic that goes with the public health administrative sector all around the world, in every bus terminal, every airport, all around the world. Millions, hundreds of millions of people every day subjected to pure Nazification. This is collectivism. This is you agreeing every time you acquiesce to any of that protocol. You are the one who is taking coin over conscience. Coin meaning to say your allegiance to Caesar, to Cronus, to the Titan that devours its young, which is you, your babies. And it's a choice. But when you, like me, become sufficiently irreverent to the myth of power, and you recognize that these wheedling, godless, gutless, witless sons of bitches masquerading as presidents and prime ministers, when you recognize the nature of these deviants, 95% of them, one imagines, I might be wrong in my calculus, but it can't be far off, are themselves taking coin over conscience, because they also go home with a psychic knot in the gut, many of them, and they hate what they are feeling obligated to do or forced to do. It contravenes the human conscience, and that hurts. It creates a dull ache. That dull ache ultimately metastasizes into cancers, into death spiral, in the blood song, and it will kill you because it's parasiting you right now, because you're giving it permission to do so. That's the simple mechanics of what I'm talking about. If you permit yourself to become sufficiently irreverent to the myth of power in life, in the world, and can still have a smile on your face and genuinely love the twat in front of you who is asking you to roll up a sleeve or to pull your head back so they can stick a probe in your nostril, if you can still conduct yourself with grace, firmly, never agreeing to any of the above, but doing it with, I guess, humor. I certainly chosen humor. In the last year, I've chosen humor, but more because it's the path of least resistance to the highest outcome. You know, if pulling out a gun and shooting devils in the face were the path of least resistance to the highest outcome, trust me, I'd be doing that with impunity and with no.
With you.
But I find it's not. I find that just a bit of humor and just to deflate the situation a little is that carries the wisdom flame. Anyway, again, I'm going off on a tangent. It's all about how we step into our being here now and stop paying homage to coin and to Caesar and start paying homage to our own divinity. And that's a limitless quanta. I mean, when one recognizes that one's creative potential is limitless, you can manifest the world you want. As long as you have it in here, as long as you have the stamina and the will, you can manifest anything on earth. I mean, a great many are. I'm lucky that in my life and in the circles I move, I deal with a lot of creatives, a hell of a lot of creatives. And so I'm seeing how that tribe, that family are all variously in a chorus of affirmation and feeling that despite appearances in the world, actually they feel that the wind is beneath their wings, and that as creatives, they are really beginning to flourish. This is a beautiful thing. So what do I see emerging off the back of the last 9 months that I've been traveling? What have I learned? Having thousands of conversations, literally, and meeting tens and tens and tens of thousands of people, and embracing so many people. I'm feeling better about life on earth now than ever before in all of my life. And I've always been an optimist, and I've always had very high ideals and a sense of beautiful beneficence that's emerging in the so-called future. I've learned to completely transmute any notion of the past or the future into the now. So that I think this is where I delight in life, and I'm finding so much joy because I'm not paying attention to history. Curiously enough, I'm lecturing on corrected history. I'm doing a lot of broadcasts on that, and I'm interested in those conversations with researchers and what have you. But I'm personally not interested in history, even although the true history, the revelation of Tartarus and the true angelic seedings and all of the 950 billion year timeline that I'm now going into in the Lazarus Initiative, and bringing those incredible minds onto the world stage through the Lazarus Initiative to talk about the real long poker hand of the human seeding, which is not 13, 14 billion years old, but about 950 billion years by best accounts. The long, arcane, galactic stories and the threading of our cosmogenesis. It's such a limitless tapestry of wonderment. And yet, I'm not actually that interested in it. I'm just not. I'm genuinely not interested because I'm far too interested in the now and in seeing that there is this incredible emergent field of light coding that I've been speaking to for some years that is palpably bombarding us, that any one of us can choose to transduce and transcode that lighting into our kundalini, into our sex magic and our internal creative dynamo. Take that beautiful dance of Shiva and Shakti inside the blood, the DNA, move that fire up the body and into here and create, ideate, and then radiate plasma, your life force, this limitless prana, because that is where the host and the legion of angels join you when you have the courage to manifest that field effect on the earthly plane. That's when legions of angels join you and help to keep the streets clean for you and to sweep the house for you, so to speak. It's all good. This new emergent so-called fifth density field of reality is, for me, very much a real reality that I can see and touch and feel. It's and that the same applies to a great many people who have the courage as well to seize the day. Yeah.
I think everything you're saying today, Sacha, it seems as though it's exactly what we needed to hear. So I'm assuming many people watching this are getting so much out of what you're saying, and they're feeling very uplifted by this conversation, because we certainly are. There is one question I wanted to ask you. A lot of the time in the past, and even now still, Carly and I do feel a sense of guilt around seeing other people suffering. And it's something that we've really struggled with, because being sort of highly sensitive, but also maybe programmed to feel guilty in a sense, and then also still keep creating, we're finding that to be quite a hard balance. So I'm wondering if you can maybe shed some light on how to deal with seeing so much suffering going on and not feeling a certain way about that, and still feel like you can just keep forging ahead.
So true empathy and true compassion can only emerge in direct proportion to the degree to which you are able to step into the now space, and to be fully actualized in the living present. Because being in the living present as a son or a daughter of God, as a capacitor of limitless, transmutative, transformative life force, your empathy, your compassion is a healing force that you can transmit to the subject that you are feeling compassion toward or empathic toward. And the linguistic wave genetics that issues off your mitochondria as a plasma field will touch that being, that situation, and will activate a healing process. That is pure hyperdimensional physics. And you can treat somebody on the other side of the planet or in another star system using that same linguistic wave genetic that comes off your field with directed plasma. The more you are standing in the now space, the geometry of now is perfect always in always. Therefore, if you are standing fully in that still point, you are aligned with the divine flame. In that alignment, your flaming occurs of plasma, where you can heal the world. You can heal your mother. You can heal your child or your pet from whatever the affliction is. But again, this is a true state of grace. This is the Christic or the Christed state of supernature, which is a self-existing, self-revealing, self-fulfilling function once one steps into that state of being. I'm trying not to sound fuzzy and nebulous for people who want solutions like that to be given to them. People, you have to step into that space. And in order to get to that now space, to activate the compassion, the empathy, the capacity to heal, you must be prepared to surrender. Incidentally, that's what Islam means. For those good Muslims out there, you know that the mystical tradition of Islam is all about surrender, relinquish, release the ego form, move into that other devotional space, but not one that many Muslims have fallen victim to, becoming idolaters of their religious faith, like most Christians are idolaters of the Christian faith, Catholicism especially. But the point I'm trying to make here, I think you understand, is it's all about where we direct our attention. You can heal the subject without guilt. Guilt is an inhibitor of healing. So this is the irony of what you're saying, is that the guilt you're feeling is your own unclarified divine capacities. Once you've clarified any sense of guilt whatsoever, you will be firing on the 12 divine cylinders, and you will be conducting the healing of the subject in that event horizon, rather than feeling guilty about not, or about being better off than, or about, so on and so forth. So please understand the logic. For you to be in a state of delight, ecstasy, euphoria, joy, especially in the middle of a galactic underpass or a war or a diabolical scenario, for you to glow in the dark is exactly how you bring relief and remedy to others in a given situation. Don't be afraid to shine. And that's my caveat to what you are asking, which is, how does one deal with the guilt? One doesn't have guilt when one is clarified. So just work on that clarification internally and chase those misgivings and those doubts that you may still have or may still harbor in your heart, and recognize that you truly are blessed, blessed to be out of pain, blessed to be breathing, blessed to be walking, through the valley of death, fearing no ill. And in that state of grace, go and do great remedy to others, but shine in so doing, and never, ever be afraid to shine.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there, Sacha, is allowing ourselves to live in that high frequency so that we are able to allow ourselves to, adopt some of these upgrades that we're now getting the chances to receive from the universe, from the photon light that's bombarding the earth, all of these things, all the portals, everything that we're experiencing as part of this transition into the new earth. This may indeed, as we understand it, may indeed give us the ability to be able to heal people just from living in that higher frequency. Is that also what you're saying as well?
Well, forgive me for interrupting. It's not a question of it may. That is the way it works. That is hyperdimensional physics at work. That is the physics of healing. And any healer who is laying hands on another healer, on a subject, and does so successfully, is simply inhabiting a momentary state of grace or still point, wherein and whereupon the life force coming through that healer is aligned with the divine flame and therefore carries those codes to heal or to bring anything in entropy into neg entropy, bring anything that is mutant back into syntropy and coherence. So it really comes down to that. That's what alignment with divinity means. It means that you are now restoring back into your own immanent blueprint, which is a divine blueprint, a divine matrix. So your own, you are not aging and you are not corrupting and corroding and falling apart and rotting. Basically, you are beginning to engender luminescence into the cells and the structure, corrected geometry into the structure of the atoms, so to speak. And with that comes age reversal, which with that comes supernature, comes the activation of the auric field and the return to remembrance and return to divinity whilst in the flesh. So yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Sons and daughters of God. That's not a pretty little term. I'm not trying to create a cute notion there. I'm saying that you are a God. You're a son of God. You're a daughter of God. You are fully aligned with God. There is no separation between you and God. And if you still think there is, frankly, you're fucked. You're not going to survive this world where it's moving. You need to step away from idolatry. And any of you imbeciles still thinking that God is out there looking on you and protecting you from out there, you're an idolater. And you're moving against the message of the Master Yeshua and Muhammad, peace upon him, and Gautama Buddha and Krishna and all of the great saints and prophets of old. Moses very much amongst them. What a great man he was. Socrates, what a tremendous soul he was. But the point is, it's all a unified message, which is step out of idolatry, friends, and indentureship to the kingdom of the devil. Stop allowing your life force to become the harvest and the utility of some satanic fucking agenda, which then gets spun out into a world war or into another galactic cycle of misery. Just step away from all of that and recognize that you steered yourself into this world as a divine emissary. Now own it. Reclaim your cells. Move into your immanence. Move into your immortality. Move into your genius and your supernature. Start to have fun. You see, we feel guilty about having fun. That's absurd.
Yeah.
That's all I intend to do in this world, is have fun. Even if we are tap dancing on the bullshit checkerboard of the devil, we can still have fun doing it, as long as my vision is more powerful and more anchored than the devil's vision, which it is, which is why the new earth is arising, much to the chagrin of the black hats and the dark hearts. Fuck them.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that. Yes, indeed, we do already have the abilities to heal. It's just about taking ourselves out of that fear space that we've been in for such a long time. And you're totally 100% right there. So thank you for clarifying. Just in regards to healing, though, we just wanted to turn our attentions just quickly to Romania, because I know that you spent a little bit of time in Romania looking at this life pod technology, or medbeds, as people it has been referred to. Are you able to share just a little bit of that briefly, just to give us a little bit of information about what you've learned, how far away are we from receiving this, just for everyday people? Is that going to be accessible to us sooner or later? Well, sooner rather
yes, it
than later,
is.
I should say.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so I hope that this Ukraine fiasco doesn't spill on to Romania and the other countries in the Balkans and Eastern Europe, because if it does, it's going to seriously impact my immediate objectives in Romania, because I'm very involved with that. And shipping has already become a huge problem in the last few months. Many of you probably listening in have been experiencing that yourselves. Just try and order, some, little microbial formula, over in shipping with FedEx or UPS, and see how long it takes to get within America. No problem. Outside of America, really, really difficult.
Yeah.
So, customs, excise, weights, measurements, all of that stuff comes into the apparatus of the devil when the devil is trying to prevent any real transaction and exchange between people. Now that we have a plethora of life-saving formulas that are emerging, things like that I've been certainly promoting, and I've been studying up and working with the scientists and biochemists for the last 6-7 months or so. And that's my big passion, incidentally. So I hope we move on to that in a minute. LifePod is real. Those modules are being fabricated now. When will they get to market? Like I said, I was hoping that'd be the second by the middle of this year, but I think at this stage it's likely to be September-ish. Please God, and it's going to depend almost entirely on shipping and our capacity to ship from out of Romania to the rest of the world. What have I learned subsequent to September, October, when I first went and met with the Romanian military scientists? I've learned a hell of a lot. I've learned that there are other, let me just say, formulas and modalities that are coming out of the space program that we are now being invited to participate with. I can't say any more than that, and I'm sorry to sound as though I'm couching it, but I'm trying to veil it, because I've not signed papers, but we are involved in some other technologies which are also coming in, which are a lot simpler than the life pods, but just as powerful, so I'm told, and a lot simpler. So I'm constantly in a state where I'm looking to see what are the latest vanguard things that are coming? What microbial formulas are there? What nanolipid transfer technologies are emerging? What's the best of the best out there that we can take and imbibe or put on our bodies as a technology to remediate? And that's a journey that's not going to change. So I'm just going to be honest to people. I'm going to say, hey, yes, I was talking about that, but this is gazumped, and I think you should look at this. But I'm directly invested in the LifePod technologies, and they're exciting. And ultimately, what I want that to move toward is being able to get those modules all around the world so that clinics can be set up. Whether it's a high-rise tenement block in Moscow that do a crowdfund and then buy their own, a set of modules so that they can have an in-house LifePod clinic in their tenement block, so that it's affordable to poor people every bit as much as it is to rich people buying them and having them on their yachts. So that's how I'm trying to develop the LifePod suite with the military scientist, and it's looking good. So I've made some early previews on Lazarus and the Regenesis retreats. I've not yet made them public. I will do only when I'm given a green light by the Romanians that yes, we will be in fulfillment in August, September, whatever. Once I'm given that definitively, then I will make public notice and give a countdown to opening some kind of a gate online where people can do pre-orders. So that's as much as I'm prepared to say on the LifePod. Very exciting stuff, nonetheless. The microbial formulas, I'm involved in 2 that I think will change the face of this planet and our species. They already have proven that in the laboratory and in clinical studies and clinical trials. I'm now working with the laboratories on both sides of the Atlantic to see how to get those, A, to an affordable price point, secondly, to market as quickly as possible. What do we want? We want the path of least resistance to the highest outcome. We want to be able to take some protocol that's so damn simple, but that completely boots up our autoimmune system by 1, 2, 3,000% instantly, within minutes or hours. We want to be able to pull ourselves systemically out of every cancer, every metastases, every entropic and chronic illness known to man within hours and days and weeks, not months and years. That's what we want. And that's what we've got coming. That's what is here with us already, technologically speaking, and in terms of the medical science. How do we bypass the Catholic Church, meaning to say the Anthony Fauci of this world, the Center for Disease Control, the world, and of course the priest bankers who also block by swift mechanisms or close down the good little companies who are trying to sell a remedy and get them to people of the world. So that's the problem. We do not want remedy for humankind. That's the big problem we've got.
So obviously, Sacha, it's a huge endeavour of yours, and you've got multiple projects going on at the moment. And we will touch on your guerrilla network and also Lazarus as well, just before we tie up the conversation. One thing, you're looking at me, we keep like starting each other's sentences today. This is crazy. We have so much telepathy going on at the moment, Sacha. It is crazy. We are even doing the same actions. Like, I can't even explain this to you, but we're making the same movements. It's crazy. And we're not even twins. But this is just since we've been working together and you know, those synchronicities that have developed. So it's quite amazing, isn't it? Now, just quickly, we're just going to deviate a little bit, but I know that there's a lot of people watching, or there will be a lot of people watching from Australia, this particular video, and obviously all around the world. But wanted to just get your thoughts on how you think we're, I guess, traveling down here in Australia. Obviously, you know what's going on. There's a lot of rallies going on right now. People, I mean, this is, I guess, people have been protesting down here for a good 18 months. We've been getting people in the millions for the past 3 months or so, maybe a little bit more. So this is good. This is good to see. Probably never thought we would get this many people. If you'd asked us, you know, last year, we would never have even anticipated this stage. And a lot of this is being led by the A1 party and Ricardo Bossi, who I know you've spoken to on several occasions. And his plan is just briefly for anybody who doesn't know, is basically he wants to stay in Canberra, which is the home of Parliament, government. He wants to stay there until the Governor General comes out and responds to the people and dissolves Parliament. That is the plan. It's not about the mandates. It's much more beyond that. Just wanted to catch people up on that in case they didn't know. But what are your thoughts on how Australia is progressing? Because we can tell you right now, the energy is still very, very dense. It's very heavy. And I think, you know, this is why some days it's quite difficult for us to progress down here and to cut through. You know, obviously we get a lot of hammering on the channel and whatnot, even for the stuff that we say, which is most of the time we think we're just, you know, love and light. But, you know, it's a lot deeper than that, as you know. But what are your thoughts on how we are traveling down here?
I'm not that up to speed. I speak to Ricardo Bossi, and I have a huge affection and respect for the man. Mm-hmm. I speak to Nate Max, who's a very close friend of mine, and we speak like little Japanese schoolgirls quite frequently, sending little messages to each other. And so I'm kind of up to speed through Nate. And there's a few other influences in Australia who I'm in touch with and stay abreast more or less. You know, I sense that the idiot mass of Australia, Middle Australia, and what an idiot mass that is and has been, deserves to get a cricket bat around the back of the head as quickly and swiftly as possible, and just to move out of the mainframe and allow the incredible enlightened fellowship in Australia of good people to come forward and seize the day. And I see that happening. So I think that the idiot mass of Middle Australia has quacked like a duck and waddled like a duck for the last couple of years, acquiescing and obeying and doing all its virtue signaling. And that's before we even speak about the moronic police in Australia and the moronic parliaments in Australia. And the bureaucrats and technocrats in the public health administration sector who should all hang by the neck, certainly those of them who are responsible for murdering men, women, and children. But that notwithstanding, it's happened. That horrendous reckoning of the degree of stupidity of Middle Australia and acquiescence to a status quo, because it only works together. You only get the You only get the, what's that moronic prime minister of yours called? Scott Morrison.
𝙀𝙥𝙞𝙨𝙤𝙀.
The sadistic geography teacher. You only get a ScoMo, a Scott Morrison, if you have a counterpoint energetic in the field, which is a stupid middle Australia. And they deserve each other. They're born, they're covenanted to meet with one another on the battlefield of life. And so they did, at the expense of good people like you and a great many good people in Australia. I'm feeling very hopeful that that Australia is yours and to be yours soon. But don't forget, Australia is incredibly compromised and has been historically. I'm not going to go into it here, but you've been historically compromised. You've been set up as an Illuminati playground and in a sense kept as the wilderness continent so that the Illuminati could seed Australia with their spawn the minute they'd won and got their Lucifer on the throne, you know, which is what this big tug of war is all about right now. But I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling a lot more hopeful. I just shut my eyes and I sense my brothers and sisters in Australia. I connect just here from this space. And I absolutely know that I feel and connect to them in the right way, and which is not in a kind of woolly, psycho-emotional way. I just really feel the pulse of Australia as it's now emerging. And I'm feeling very, very hopeful that you guys are going to be on an upswing, a tremendous upswing. But God knows you need to still brush these middle-class technocratic deviants out, get them out. And you want to really break that government, break the bone of it, break the backbone of it, and leave it on the side of the road. You need to break your ties to the venal commonwealth. You need to break ties with the corrupted crown interests, and privy council interests of Britannia, all of that filthy stuff. You really need to break the spine and be able to move on without having any allegiances to any of that ghastly heraldic paraphernalia, which gave your grandmothers some sweet sentimental notions of home back in the day. But really, time to grow up, stand up, and just walk away from all of that nonsense and claim your big nation, and then get on your fucking knees and apologize to the Aboriginal people. Take the knee. Take the knee and stop the poisoning of the last of the Aboriginals. Having said that, it is crystal clear that most of the souls inhabiting the bodies, the wrecked and ruined bodies of many of the Aboriginal peoples, are the souls of the white devil anyway, living out the end of days. But it is not too late. The true oracles of the Aboriginals are alive and well and intact, and they are thrusting. I'm speaking to a couple of them, and I'm blessed to do so. Very, very powerful oracles indeed. And so that energetic, in a sense, has already departed Australia from Uluru with the emergence of the rainbow serpent energy, which is now populating the rest of the earth and awakening the rest of the earth. That was a gift of ages that stemmed really from the Aboriginals, the First Nation peoples of Australia. And I, for one, was privy to that while it was happening, have been, and continue to be in awe of the First Nation peoples of Australia. But the white devil that still runs in our blood needs to take the knee and ask for forgiveness and absolution, not in the way that the Joseph Bidens and Nancy Pelosi's take the knee in the United Nations General Assembly or Congress. I'm not talking about that kind of theatrics. I'm talking about here, just to recognize in our blood song as white skins that it was our forebears who were mind-fucked into doing treacherous things under cannon and under flag 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And for that, let's absolve those actions and move into syntropy with our First Nation brothers and sisters. Allow them now to become throned and crowned as well on the soil, and they will certainly embrace us. But that's a huge process of the absolution that is going to be taking place between now and really the next 5, 6, 7 years. It's all going to be about that absolution and the rekindling of communion between the white skins, the black skins, the brown skins, the yellow skins, and the red skins.
Thank you for sharing that, Sacha. And I think even just from the last conversation that we had with you back in August last year, I do feel like a sense of slight upliftment. I think even just with how you just explained it just now, you can sense those just slight changes that are happening. And yes, okay, we're seeing it in the rallies, in the numbers of people turning out. But it's more a sense of energy, I think. And it's been hard to pinpoint because there are times that we've thought that, we've hit the toughest point and then we're like, we've come back again. And even just at the beginning of this year, I think we felt that back in January, we thought for 2 days the energy had lifted, but then we toppled back down again. So look, we are still experiencing some tough times down here, but we have a beautiful land and we have to connect to the earth and the people that are here. They have to do their very best to do that. And, one of the things we always advocate in our videos is to get in touch with nature, ground yourself, get yourself back to yourself, because if you're taking yourself away from all that fear propaganda and all that sort of jazz that we're constantly subjected to, even if you don't watch the news, you know what I'm talking about. There's things everywhere. I mean, we've had people, just neighbors, literally fainting, ambulances are here in the street all the time. You know what's happening. People are dropping because of this business, and I suspect it's probably going to get worse before it gets any better. But this is why it's important to constantly raise our own frequencies and make that decision to live above that line, whilst acknowledging what's going on. As we've been discussing through this conversation, it's important to acknowledge what's going on, but to live above that line. And this brings us back to where you're at and what you're doing right now. And it's all about the creation. It's what we're doing. It's the project we were doing, we won't go into that now, but we were divinely guided. It was something that we actually physically manifested between the two of us. We literally sat down one day and we were questioning what we were doing in life. And it was a question we put out to the universe. As I said, I won't go into all the details, but it was a divine thing that came to us. And we are 100% sure of that. And, there are days still that we are questioning things, as I'm sure you are, Sacha, as well. There are even just the most annoying little things, like it could be, you're talking about shipping and all that sort of thing, just little things to get you irritated that constantly remind you of that, kind of stemming down from that satanic rubbish that's going on. Everything comes back to that. But we are fully aware that there are many opportunities being delivered to us to have that a chance to instantly manifest. And when I say instant, it might not be in a second, but it's happening now, in the now. You can do it.
Sacha, are you using manifesting in a sense to get these protocols out to people? I mean, how are you seeing getting past those hurdles of being held down?
Well, in the first instance, we're ultimately reliant on shipping. If not, we have to smuggle. So, you can either ship or smuggle, but it's always been the way. And the real pirates are the governments and the customs and ports authorities. They're the pirates. Good humans simply wanting to convey themselves and their own fucking merchandise from A to B are not the pirates. But you'll be made out to be the pirate, and you'll be thrown into their grotesque little cells after being hauled through their dirty little courtrooms with their venal little statutory bullshit thrown at you. So that's, unfortunately, the theater that we have allowed to emerge over the last few centuries, okay, whilst we were asleep at the proverbial wheel. How do we bypass that now? Well, you can get immensely wealthy and then buy your own ship or airplane and start to take your own cargo. That's one way. It's not a joke. I'm being serious. We will be getting our own ships and boats to do that stuff. That's definitely part of the near future. But navigating the compliances and regulations, anyone who's got a decent technology out there or formula out there, set up a private members club, private member society, private members association, and invite members into that. And when members come in, get them to sign a waiver. They are now part of a private members society or private members association. That's the end of it. Once they're in that, you don't use the public platforms like Facebook to proclaim things, but you certainly can speak to your private members. You can get, like I've got, hundreds of thousands of people who are your private members. And you've got their emails, their phone numbers. They love you. They care about what you say, and they believe what you say. And you can say what you like amongst your private members. And you can talk about treating cancer and curing cancer, because that's exactly what you're doing. And there's no law against that, nor can there ever be a law against that. Ever, ever, ever. But you are required to self-organize. You're required to get your shit together. And I've been saying this for years. You know, Tupperware parties were a big joke back in the day in the 70s and 80s. But Tupperware parties, that's exactly what people should be doing, having Tupperware parties again. They should be walking into their kids' bedrooms, smacking them around the back of the head with a wet sock for being plugged into gaming, and get them out of the AI transhumanist vortex. They should be engendering family around the kitchen table, the lunch table, and the breakfast table. Mothers should be going back to the home as much as possible, wherever possible, where they feel it, where it is their joy, and should be stepping outside of the workplace, because the real workplace is the home, and that's also the real play place. So we need to get back to some old-fashioned ideals, which are not chauvinistic and not misogynistic. They are simply cultural, and they're also sensible. Please, people, do remember that, you know, women's lib was an articulated psyop from day one. It was a Rockefeller psyop. All they did was wanted to get women into the workplace so they could tax 2 people in every household. And that worked a treat, because you all fell for it back in the 60s and 70s. Stupid of us, but, you know, understandable enough. You had these, you know, 𝙀𝙥𝙞𝙨 or whatever her name is, and these kinds of dykey women, very intellectual, who were out there speaking it up. And it worked, and people fell for it, and women started punching the air and believing that it was an abasement or a debasement to be in the kitchen cooking for the family, or in the home creating a beautiful space. No, it's not a debasement. It's a fucking honor. And I personally, as a man, would have no issue with cooking and cleaning and making beds for a family. If I had a family, I'd be more than happy doing that. In fact, I'm a great homemaker. Every home I've ever had, I make into a beautiful, beautiful place. And I cook all the time. Anyone who knows me knows that. When I'm in London, I cook all my meetings, whether it's politicians who are coming, or bishops, or judges, or activists, or whoever. They come to my home, I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking. My meetings are around the dinner table, always. And I will cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner constantly. I'm passionate about it. And
What's
I
on
know
the menu?
joy. What's that?
What's on the menu?
Anything. There's nothing I cannot cook. And I love cooking. So the point I'm making is that I get what it is to create home and to create space. And I love it. And I think that most women love that as well, because it's generally a womanly predisposition. And I feel very womanly in that myself. And I have no problem with that. So my point is, we need to get back to some of our cultural mores and values that actually were not cultural, but societal, ones that felt decent and righteous, you know? And we should get back to that, and we should unplug from this notion of working and having a vocation and having a job and paying taxes and playing into the hamster wheel. So, but that's about us breaking the false light covenant with governments and with banks and with high streets and consumables, and just recognizing that is all of that is the idols of old. That is the golden calf. Those are the moneylenders' tables, and we've got to throw them over, and we have to cull those sacred cows. We've got to do it quick. We've got a perfect time now as we emerge through the COVIDiocy and move now into an articulated World War III scenario, which is definitely being articulated now. But despite all of that, it's the best time. It's called the fog of war. And in the fog of war, you can manifest your dreams and your visions. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I love that speech.
And I loved hearing about your cooking, Sacha.
Yes.
Didn't know that about you.
We can swap some recipes, Sacha.
Not a problem, ladies. Not a problem.
Sacha, just a couple of things before we finish up today. We keep coming back to manifesting today as the theme really for this conversation, I think. But what we've noticed personally is scaling back and not having the jobs we used to have in the media. The manifesting as well has become easier because it really is not just about that clear intention that you talked about at the beginning of the interview, but also creating space. And you talked about having a nice space in your home, but creating space within the mind and the body. And we've really noticed that is one of the biggest things to assist you in your manifesting, and being so busy all the time really doesn't allow you to be able to tap into your fullest potential. So scaling back and unlearning it and ridding yourself of things that aren't really what you want or have just been kind of programmed into you or put onto you, and relearning what does feel connected to you. So actually making space and making that a priority. But also, Sacha, we're just curious about how you actually utilize the energies with the portals. Is there something that you personally do or you sense around these times that does assist you in your creation?
No, I don't have a method, and I don't have a discipline. So I'm in that sense, I've learned I think a kind of quantum Zen approach to life, which I really distill it down into the kind of living philosophy that I've been speaking to in the last few short years, which is just, again, pure truth and right action in the living now, in the living moment, because the moment must be alive. One must be fully present in the now, for the now space, for it to become alive. And in that aliveness, again, receiving the divine flow of Kundalini and prana, one is able to ideate and manifest. So that to me is just a very simple, intelligent navigation set or a tool set to how we can manifest in our own lives. Pure truth, right action in the now. Boom, that's it. You can write that on the back of your hand. Keep reminding yourself. That's my mantra. And I ask myself constantly, what have I just said? Was that in truth? Yes, more or less. If it's more or less, then it's not in truth. Was it in truth? Yes or no? Well, no, too late, Sacha. Was it in truth? So I talk to myself about this, and I'm constantly looking to define and refine within self that atom seed of pure truth, undiluted truth, which is the truth that one speaks to instantly, without filtering, without analyzing, without judging, without mutating or manipulating. In the same way that one steps in the flame of pure truth when you meet someone for the very first time and you exchange fire in the eyes, in that instant, you know everything you'll ever need to know about that being, provided you're in the now space in that moment when the fire in the eyes is exchanged and the handshake is there. Boom. It's an instant transmission of past and future. Everything to do with the soul covenant of that individual in your vector of time space is given to you in an instant. If you are in the now space, you will receive that full transmission, and your psionic intelligence will know absolutely whether or not you should conduct business with that individual, whether you should make love to that individual, whether you should go on a cruise with that individual, whether you should take a walk with that individual in the woods. You will know the truth of that if you are in the living moment. Very important point I'm making here. That's why I say it's pure truth and right action in the living moment, which is the one that's most alive, because you actualize in it. You're fully attended and attentive to this moment. And right action, what is right action? Right action is affirmation, is to affirm. Right action is to create, is to make every action in your life a creative one, meaning to say healing, remedy, solution, beautification. That's it. The elevation of art, beauty, and consciousness is right action. To beautify everything that you do, every space that you visit or live. You could beautify it with planting trees, or you can beautify it with engendering love and gratitude and praising the dour-faced waitress who's clearly not having a good day and is hating on her life, is not in any state of joy. And yet she's trying, she's smiling, crying behind the smile. If you're empathic, you'll know that, you're connected to that. And in that space, in that quanta, in the now, you can heal her. And your smile will be like 1,000 rays of sun. So that's what I'm talking about. Pure truth and right action in the living now is my own form of quantum Zen. And to not plan too far ahead. So I take on very big things in life and invariably fail, but I do succeed at some. And I'm never afraid of the scale of something, of an objective. I'm only concerned about the veracity or the probity, the honor, the truth of that action. And is it worthy and is it needful? And if it is worthy and needful, then I'm game. I'll throw myself into it, no matter how big or terrifying the objective might be. But that's because I've learned not to look into the future. I've learned to ideate and hold a vision, but that is not the same thing as pegging it into a future timeline and imagining that it's a path from this to that. No, the path is now, and the path is a limitless now. And I don't want to be on a path. I want to be living in the path. I want to be falling within the matrix into a state of bliss, which incidentally becomes my exit strategy at the same time, if I'm smart.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So you really, I mean, you've simplified it beautifully for the audience, I think. And are you saying then you just hold an intention that then not project it out? It's just holding an intention and living in the now within that.
You could project it out. I mean, God knows I'm one of those woolly-mouthed fools who always speaks to what I'm thinking. So I make a terrible poker player because I always give the game away. And that's because in that way, I'm very, very honest. I gush a lot, and I like to express what my thoughts are, which is why I make a very good friend, because I'm very, very loyal. I make a good lover because I'm very, very loyal. But I'm also irreverent, so I'll speak my mind very, very, very definitively and very honestly. And I become very angered by things. Injustice angers me enormously. The moronic behavior of humans in the high street annoys me. The petty tyrants enrage me. Small-dicked technocrats trying to inhibit humans' right to move freely on the surface of the earth enrages me. Things like that enrage me, and I pull out a sword and I behead people and I skin them alive, and I'll do so with relish, but I'll only do it to those creatures who have so indentured into the kingdom of the devil that they become satanic in their objectives, and they want to harm and injure, molest good humans moving around the earth. And that's my prerogative. I'm always going to act as that kind of creature, the sort of, in a sense, the warrior, I guess, and always picking up. I did it as a kid when I was, 5, 6, 7 years of age. The only time I ever deployed violence was when I was attacking bullies physically. So I remember from the age of 7, 8, being so enraged by seeing bullies that I would physically assault them and fly into them and beat the living shit out of bullies, much bigger than me invariably. And that was the only time I'm capable of rage. Otherwise, I'm a coward. I'm an abject coward. I'll always run from a fight. But if I see someone being bullied or beaten up, I will jump in immediately. I've stopped my car in the middle of traffic and jumped into fights to protect somebody who was clearly a lot weaker than the protagonist or the antagonist. So I don't know where I got pulled into that. I'm sorry. I'm going.
Well, look, I'll chime in, Sacha, but thank you. The last thing we wanted to sort of ask you before we just talk quickly about where people can find you and sign up to Lazarus and Guerrilla News Network, etc. Just something that you mentioned at the beginning of the chat about people that you work with in business, and they're not people that you can trust anymore, and that emotion. How do you deal with that in business? And I think the big theme at the moment as well is not knowing who to trust, just in everything.
Well, I have a feeling that you're asking me this for good reason. This is a personal question.
You always give it away.
But I feel like the whole world is in this place of mistrust, and I didn't anticipate you sort of talking about that today, and it's interesting to hear you say that, and you do a lot of business, and we absolutely admire everything that you do for the good of the world. So how does someone like Sacha deal with that?
I trust everyone absolutely implicitly, which is why I get screwed over so badly so much of the time. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being screwed over. I'm okay with being betrayed. I'm okay with having money stolen from me. I'm okay with losing a home or losing assets because of my own incapacity to micromanage. And I don't look over people's shoulders, and I don't hold on to the purse strings. I have no respect for money at all. It flows through me. I generate enormous amounts and it goes, and I don't bank it. It doesn't go into banks, and I don't stockpile money. I keep a hell of a lot of people fed and housed and watered, and that's the way it should be. So I'm very irreverent when it comes to business, or when it comes to that kind of thing. Now, having said that, I don't work with public funds. I don't work with public money, and I refuse to. And, only in the last year with the Lazarus Symposium, the last 9-10 months, have we got a fee for something. But that's in order to pay for secure servers, because I was just completely being taken down otherwise. And so out of the many thousands of subscribers to Lazarus, and it's a low threshold, but there's a handful of people from time to time who complain and say, oh, we thought you did everything free. Well, yes, I have for 23 years done everything free, and I haven't been generating my money from the public purse. That is true, but fuck you. I have to pay for servers, and I've got to pay for IT teams to keep putting out this inordinate amount of work and information and bringing stuff to people. So have the grace to participate in that, or shut up and leave. It's not a problem to me either way. I don't need to. The symposiums that I do, I've already learned the stuff. It's not like it's fascinating information. It needs to get out there. People need to become attuned to these incredible geniuses and these incredible ideas in order to help to affirm and expand and uplift our own mundane notions of reality. That's what I'm trying to do with the Lazarus Symposium and the Lazarus Initiative, to help to resurrect us from an psycho-intellectual death spiral through gaming and MTV and pornography and government propaganda. So kudos to my team, and kudos to all of the great sages that come and appear unpaid on the Lazarus Symposium. It certainly doesn't pay my way, but that's a quid pro quo scenario. How do I trust people? I do it by just uniformly trusting everyone all the time. And I don't want to become distrustful. But having said that, I'll go back to what I said 10 minutes ago. I'm learning increasingly to trust that instinct for the very first moment, the flash in the eyes when you meet someone for the first time. That's the packet of information that is really transmitting and warning you and saying, don't deal with this individual. Don't go into business. Don't sleep with them. Don't walk in the woods with them, whatever it is. And you need to learn. Relationship with self needs to become so clarified that you are okay about receiving that packet of information And it's difficult because when you're being introduced to a real estate agent or an insurance broker or someone that you think you need, or somebody who's about to, tutor you in cryptocurrency and tell you which one you should put whatever it is, you like to think that you're going to meet a great person. We all like to think, hey, great to meet you. Really heard a lot about you. So that's our natural tendency as humans, is to offer ourselves up and to be there and to meet the occasion and trust and believe and want that engagement to work. It's a sweetness in our condition, but it's something that often operates to our detriment, because ask yourself this is the audience, ask yourself this: what's the percentage of business relationships that works out versus the ones that tank? I'll tell you, very few work out. It's maybe, you're lucky, it's 2 to 3 out of 10, which is to say 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5 at best. But the overwhelming majority of business engagements that you do not turn out terribly well. But the same thing can be said of dating, one imagines, So what's the net there? Learn to trust absolutely that exchange of the fire in the eyes in that first instant. And that's your psionic intelligence, your telepathic intelligence. Go back to that and start to refine that intelligence, and you will succeed in life. So I believe I'm getting to a point for myself now where, albeit I will trust everyone uniformly, I will also listen to that flash that comes in and go, thank you, no thank you. We'll have a lovely dinner. We'll have a wonderful holiday together. We'll do something, but it's not going to go into that arena or that theater. And that's okay. That's okay. That also comes to some extent with age.
Mm-hmm. True.
I like
it's
that.
a little bit challenging online as well when you're dealing with people in this kind of capacity.
Yes, of course. Of course, it'd be incredibly difficult. But I can tell you, it still transmits through the digital spheres. That same fire in the eyes transmission, it's an electrical charge. Doesn't matter where you are in the universe. It's the same thing as empathy or telepathy. You'll pick it up on the other side of the universe instantly. It's not a problem.
Yeah, no, good point.
Yeah.
Sacha, you've recently launched your Guerrilla News Network. I think you're up to broadcast 6 now. Would that be right? I think. And
I don't know, but I think it sounds about right.
Yeah. Did you want to just quickly tell us a little bit more about that and how people can join up to that network as well?
So forgive me. I think it's guerrillanewsnetwork.com. I really need to get up to speed on my own websites. I don't know what.
Below the video.
Thank you. It's Arise Guerrilla News. Actually, was the name I gave it. Arise Guerrilla News, which kind of morphed into GNN or Guerrilla News Network, and then I got recently told that some other people many years ago set up GNN and they're pissed off with me. Whatever, who cares? But the point is, I call it Arise Guerrilla News. But whatever it is, it's the Guerrilla News, and it goes out once a fortnight. It might start becoming once a week, although I won't be able to anchor every week. It'll have to alternate with different hosts. But it's an important platform and it's something I just came to me in a flash, because I was talking to some of my team and going, guys, I can't do it anymore. I just can't keep doing the activism media, because it's biting into what I need to be doing, which is working on science and technology and the microbial stuff, working in the health science. I'm really focused on these products and formulas and wanting to get them to the world this year. And I'm also working on this enormous development project, residential and campus project in Mexico. And I've got a lot of other engagements. I can't be 3 times a day dropping what I'm doing to work out what the time is around the world to speak to, So that for that reason, we decided to stop doing the kind of activism work I was doing. And also the fact that I was putting up broadcasts and they were taken down 10 minutes later. Like, it makes you think, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Really, you put so much work into it and you last 10 minutes online. Anyway, I decided once a fortnight, set up our own network, our own website. So we've got our own service again, and just set up a room, get 1,000 people in, allow those 1,000 people to capture, syndicate the media. So I'll get my friends, my followers, people following our voices to do the actual syndication. Is it working? I honestly don't know. I think it is, but I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. We're thinking of now opening it up bigger, so because we have thousands and thousands of people trying to get into the Zoom room, and they can't because we cap it at 1,000. So now I'm under pressure to open that more to 10,000, and I'll probably do that in the next couple of weeks and see how that plays out. But it's thanks to good people of the world who are doing the syndication, and what a joy it is at the end of the broadcast. And normally I've got 10, 12, 15 top icons and influencers from around the world looking in. Mm-hmm. And they could be religious leaders, political leaders, activists, whistleblowers, you name it. But at the end of each show, we just turn the screens on and just scroll through the 1,000 people in the rooms, and you can literally just see 1,000 people. And we all open microphones. I say everyone can open their mic, and everyone just sends blessings and love, and everyone's shrieking how they adore each other all around the world. And what does it sound like? The 1,000 people in a room just telling, some of them are in their beds as well with a nightcap on. There's some 4 o'clock in the morning and they're watching, and others are in a protest somewhere in Ottawa or Oslo, and on the front line whilst it's live. It is just a beautiful an orchestra of humanity that takes place once a fortnight. Thank you for asking the question.
Beautiful.
Oh, no problem.
We'll link the website below, so if people click onto the website, they can join up, and then they can join the fortnightly Zoom, which may be larger coming up, like you said.
Thank you, Joanne. Joanne will give you all of the links for Lazarus, for the GNN, and we're about to launch the New Earth Horizon website shortly, and SachaStone.com, I believe, is about to launch as well. So getting back in the saddle there after some treacherous deviants in the New Earth stole my websites, all of them, and stole all the keys to my websites and hijacked so much of my life's work for the last 20 years. A very goodly, godly team around me have reconfigured all of the IT. So I think this spring into summer is going to see a beautiful resurgence and coherence to all the work that we've been doing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Great. Thank you, Sacha.
Thank you, Sacha. I know we've run way over time, but then what is time? Really, honestly.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. We really honestly do appreciate your time, and thank you for also giving us a laugh as well. We spoke about humor. You spoke about humor at the beginning of the conversation, and I think that's so important. And I was giggling quite a lot through that conversation. I had to stop myself from giggling. So thank you so much for putting a smile on our face and for sharing all of your fantastic insights. And
thank you both. Thanks both of you. Lovely seeing you.
Thank you, Sacha.
Thanks a lot,
We'll
Sacha.
talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.